I've exhibited my work. I've been in New York, I've been in Paris, I've been in Argentina, I've been in Mexico City. I was in Vietnam one time. Coming back home to inspire people or feel inspired by my own home is fulfilling for me.
Here it is, the Bakotunes podcast with Mattomunoz. Audio brought to you by Chain Cone Clark.
I am joined in studio by a favorite familiar figure, firmly established and currently active in the Central Valley art scene and arts education scene. Please welcome Diego Monterrubio. I'm going to give you my applause right there.
Thank you.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, you know, when you were telling me before we went on there, so this is actually your first official audio interview. You've done some TV, but TV, what's TV?
Exactly. You want to be here. You want to be here live.
Yeah. You're talking with a brother right here who knows you well. So, you know, how's your day going? Yeah.
Things have been good. I've been working in the studio, working in the classroom, working in the studio.
You're an arts educator. You were a professor of art at Bakersfield College.
I work at several schools. I picked up I'm in my 9th year at Bakersfield College. I'm an adjunct professor at Bakersfield College. I teach drawing, painting. I lecture art history. My classes are full, man. The kids love it. I teach how I talk, you know. I feel like I'm an animated, person on stage, and, I just let them have it,
That's fantastic.
And then 5 years ago, I picked up a job with Kern High School District. And so I'm teaching at a continuation school out of Shafter.
Oh,
and
that's
so
great.
I like spreading myself out,
Wow, you have a lot. Okay, so I can't wait to get into this interview. Okay, so, now I've known you over the years. You've been a presence in the arts community here in town, and I've followed the things you've done. You've been active in so many different areas. I love your works. You always represent Latino culture. You make us very proud with the way you portray us in your art, and you get involved, and you're always very positive. But I want to go back to your personal history. Like, let's talk about your own personal roots. Where are you from?
So I'm from Tampico, Tamaulipas, but I'm also from Porterville and Lindsay, California. So I feel like I'm always crossing borders all the time. My father's from Michoacan, my mother's from Tamaulipas. I'm from the San Joaquin Valley.
Wow. So when did you come over to the States?
We're like 7 years old. We're 7 years old now. But I got sent back every summer. My grandfather was a painter. He was an illustrator for Coca-Cola. And so,
really?
So he found one of my drawings when I was a little kid, and he says, "¿Qué es esto? What are you doing with this?" And I said, "I'm just playing." He said, "Well, let's take a look at what you can do." And I guess he saw something in me. And after that, my parents started sending me back and forth to make sure I spent some time with my first mentor, my maestro.
Oh, that's beautiful. What's your abuelo's name?
Victor Monterrubio. El maestro, Victor Monterrubio.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so all right, so we've established that Tamaulipas to Porterville. Porterville is one of those little tiny towns, kind of like McFarland, where I'm from.
Yeah.
I think that's why we I feel like we're practically paisan right here.
For sure, absolutely.
Central Valley,
yeah.
And we kind of have the same things. Our parents coming over here for better life, and the things that they always so encouraging, and art being such a one of the most beautiful kind of focal points of our roots. It's right there in the tree. All right, so what was family life like? Growing up,
it was somewhat of a little bit of a battle there because my father is comes from a migrant family, so they did the whole migrant trail from, working from Texas to the Southwest up and down California. Family of 10.
Wow.
Yeah, half of them, born in Michoacan, the other half born in labor camps all over the Southwest, all over Aztlán. That's where they worked at. And so I spent a lot of years working with my father in the fields, picking fruit, driving the tractor, driving the truck. I think my father wanted me to kind of follow in his footsteps, but my destino was different. My grandfather was a painter. My mother's dress designer, and so there's some arts already in my blood. And my grandfather always told me, "Lo tienes en la sangre," it's in my blood, Yeah. And so it was a little battle between my father and I, because he wanted me to be with him, and I destiny was pulling me in a different way.
Was your grandfather on your mother's or your father's?
On my mother's side.
Oh, on your mother's side. Oh, so okay, so that's all. Hey, this is my grandson, but he's like, but this is my son.
Yeah. So there was a little battle there, for myself. And it's interesting. It's like I'm the only one of both families that makes art. Mm-hmm. I'm the only one.
Yeah, kind of sounds like mine too.
Right?
Sure, we're not related somehow.
We're from the valley. That's how we are.
I know.
Yeah.
All right. So, wow. Okay. So your father, family of 10. Same with your mom. Did she have a large family?
No. My mother only had she only has 2 other siblings, 3 sisters in total.
Oh,
yeah.
So all girls. And so what is the kind of the makeup of the siblings in your dad's side?
There's an architect. There was some construction workers. Just mostly working people.
Blue collar all the way.
Yeah, blue collar working people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you come over here, plant your roots right here in the Central Valley. You start going along your way. Now, growing up, I always like to know, like, the experience from a young immigrant in a new land. You said you came over here when you were 7, then they put you in public schools.
Yeah.
Did you have to learn English when you got here?
So I think that was the neat part about my parents is we all kind of were learning the English language at the same time. So my father had already been here a little bit, and my mother picked up some languages, and then I'm being taught in an English school. So they're teaching me, I'm teaching them, and then my sister doesn't come around until 4 years later. So she came in. We were already speaking English by the time she came, but it was interesting growing together, the 3 of us. My mother was 19 when she had me. My father was 24, so very young people. And then trying to live through the struggle of in a different country and stuff.
Yeah. Oh well. Let me see. So how many siblings do you have?
I have 1 sister only.
Oh, it's just you two.
Just 2 of us. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she lives in Fresno. So,
yeah. Fresno.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you about this. So what are your earliest memories of the arts? Okay, so visual, it could be visual, it could be dance, it could be music. What are some of the things that when I say, what do you remember from art as a kid?
Like I said, my grandfather was an illustrator for Coca-Cola.
So that was your first introduction.
That was it. So I got to see his palette, his studio space. And like I said, the funny part is, like, I've been in there looking at things but never really learning anything until he found one of my drawings, and he says, you know what, next week you're going to start spending 1 hour with me in the morning in the studio, then you can go play with your friends. And I'm 8. By that time they're kind of sending us back and forth. And I said, well, I don't want to go in the studio. I want to go play, right? And then he said, I gotta check something about you real quick. And I was like, all right. So he's teaching me colors. Now I know that this color is making this color. And I'm seeing sculptures and stuff all around the room. So it took about a week. And the next thing you know, I fell in love with art. I didn't even want to go play no more.
Really?
Yeah, it happened just like that, like magic, like that.
Wow. So I'm really interested in it because, the other day I saw this documentary called El Susto. I don't know if you've seen it.
I did not.
But one of the focuses they talk about is Coca-Cola, that the Coca-Cola's presence in Mexico.
Absolutely. And so, literally, we don't drink Pepsi.
No.
Not allowed. Not allowed in our house. Not allowed in my house either. So, I mean.
Yeah. Wow. So he was doing the logos, or just like any sort of associated
murals.
It is everywhere. If you've ever been to Mexico, you already know what I'm talking about. But Mexico has Coca-Cola has such a presence in Mexico. It's everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, it was all over the house. And anything that they were giving away, posters or chairs and cans and tables and you name it. And we had Coca-Cola everywhere. So literally, I mean, that's the script. The Coca-Cola lettering was all over the place.
The glass and those glass bottles would stick around forever.
They're like an old green tint. It's old school. Yeah.
Wow. So that's amazing. All right. So, was your family encouraging? Well, let me see. Were you second? Was it always just your grandfather, or at some point did your parents see that there's something going on here? I should probably encourage him because he's not going to stop.
Absolutely. Guess what? No. It was just nighttime. I did on my own. I would draw on my own, and they just kind of thought I'm just a kid playing around. I make a lot of model cars, which was also an art. Disassemble sometimes, repaint them. Draw some lowriders on the wall. Draw some raza on the wall.
Yeah.
Mess around with some different kinds of lettering. I won an award when I was 9 years old at one of the festivals, and I drew the picture was called it was at a crayon, and it was called El Mexicano, some guy with a serap and a big sombrero. I still have this drawing.
Really?
So, yeah. So that's probably like the very first award I've ever won.
Wow. So were you entering a bunch of like contests back then? You know,
Because
every school has those things that you start out in. You know, so
and that's what
everybody kind of has those.
It was in
similar
Lindsay
beginnings.
as one of the at the Orange Blossom Festival in Lindsay, and I had won. I think I was 9. I won, and then maybe another decade later, I was going to Porterville College, and I submitted some work, and then I had won again.
Yeah.
And so
now, what type of art were you being kind of what was attracting to you? Were you into the classics? Were you into graffiti, or were you into the Latin American art? I mean, what was your style? What were you being attracted to early on?
Early on, it was just a mix because you're still kind of discovering what do you like, and you can look at Rembrandt and Michelangelo and Da Vinci, and then you see something on the street like, oh man, that's pretty dope right there. I like that. Or like I got stuck making lowrider bikes and car shows and all that stuff, and all the murals that were encompassing those cars. I was like, that's pretty neat.
Who were the artists that you were kind of had an early impact? Like, I really like this particular style.
Picasso's, the top of the list. This guy was breaking boundaries all the time. Everybody's trying to catch up to him because he was so great. But you have Siqueiros, who was, doing politica stuff. And then you have, Frida doing classical painting. Then you can go, all the Europeans and stuff. But I don't know. I just kind of like I mixed a little bit of everything, and I was still trying to find out who I was at the same time.
So did you kind of have more of, when did your kind of epiphany happen? It seems like art, based on what you're telling me, is that art entered your life at a very early age. It's obviously never left because you're still here.
Yeah.
But at some point, you're going to have a moment in your life where you're like, this is it. And maybe it doesn't click with you yet. Like you don't realize, oh my gosh, I'm a real artist here. But what point did you know this was it?
So it happened in, excuse me, I think it happened in 1992. I'm in my early 20s. I enrolled in Porterville College. I finally had this fight with my parents, and I think I want to go to college. I can't work with my dad anymore, so I got to go do my own thing. And they're like, what are you going to do? It's like, I don't know. I'm just going to go find out. And so I enroll in an art class, Porterville College, and I this is a good story because this is how it really happened. And so I show up, a class full of, students and everything, and I have my little portfolio on my desk. And this teacher, right, his name is Thomas Howe out of Porterville College. And he's real, walking around like this rooster in the room, teaching the syllabus and everything. And he's talking first day. And he walks up to me and he says, what is that? And I said, oh, it's my portfolio. And he goes, I don't accept portfolios here. And I was like, oh, man, I'm already in trouble. Man, first day of school, I'm busted. And then he comes back around and he says, open it up. And I open it up and he looks around and he goes, go sit over there in the back of the room. Man, I was like, all right. So he goes to the back of the room. He tells somebody else, go sit over with him. And then tells the other girl, go sit over with him. He comes back to us and he says, I guess he had known the other two. And he says, I already know who you guys, we'll talk about you later. And he goes, you. He says, how long you been doing this? And I said, my grandfather was a painter, so I've been drawing forever. He says, okay, well, I really can't teach you anything. He says, you're way too advanced, even for the advanced class. I said, so the only thing I can really teach you is how to carry yourself as an artist. And I was like, oh, okay. And no one had ever called me that, and I was like, whoa, this is different talk, and so, and that's when I met my grandfather was my first mentor. My second mentor was Professor Howe.
You recognize that you got it.
Yeah.
You got it right there.
Yeah. So Tom and I became a mentor and student and friend and maybe another father figure right there for several years.
Is he still around?
He's still working, man. He's still working. He's in his 80s and he's still doing it.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. You can't do anything without those mentors. No. If you don't step it out of the familiar surroundings. Yeah. You'll never know. Yeah. So it's one of the super good gifts that he gave me was creative prerogative. You got freedom, Diego. You can make whatever you want, but you got to do it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Nice. Okay, so education. You went to Porterville City College.
So I went to Porterville College, and then from Porterville College, Tom and another professor, they would create these field trips, and one of the field trips was to the Bay Area. And so now I'm taking us to these museums. You look at the big city and the metropolis, and now I'm really seeing, and there's Picasso and there's all these, I'm seeing the real deal. I'm seeing the real deal, not in the books anymore. I'm face to face, And that's when I realized, like, no, I need to go to a bigger city. I got to get out of Porterville. I got to go. And so I get myself into San Jose State, right? I go to San Jose State. I go to San Jose State for a year and I drop out, right? I met some people there who they were hustling some art somewhere up in South San Francisco and everything. And they said, "Hey, Diego, you should come join us one of these days for go sell some artwork." And I was like, "All right." So I took like 4 pieces of artwork and I sold all 4, right? A month later, they invite me again. I go do it again. I sell like 4 more paintings. Another month later, I go sell like 6 paintings this time, and that's when they go, "Hey, what do you do? What do you do all the time?" And I said, "Well, I go to school, and then I got a job night job at nighttime, go stacking some shelves, and then I paint anytime I can paint." And they said, "You need to quit your job, you need to quit school and just paint full time, man." I said, "You got some cool stuff here, and people keep buying it." And I was like, "It's okay. I don't know." So then I had to call my parents. And I had to tell my mom and my dad, I said, I think I'm gonna drop out of school and I'm gonna paint full time. Mm-hmm. And my mom was like, "Are you crazy? What are you talking about? It's so hard for you to get out of this area that what are you gonna do?" And I was like, "You know what? If I don't do this now, I feel like I'm gonna lose this window of opportunity. I don't know if it'll ever be there again." I go, "So if I don't take this risk, then I don't know." And then they said, "Well, if you're gonna do that, then you're on your own. We're going to cut you off. We can't help you no more." And then I said, "Well, then I'm on my own. I got to do it." And so for the next 6 years, I was just painting and making my round, paying my rent, buying my wine, hanging out, living this bohemian art life. And then, a
lot of people don't do that. You actually you jumped into the journey.
I did it. I was like, I needed to find out, am I really what people been, patting my back about? And you're an artist, And I was, selling some paintings, but it was just enough to pay my bills, nothing crazy. I wasn't balling, nothing like that, but just to get by. And then I got a phone call from the Fresno Art Museum. And they say, "Hey, man, we've been kind of following what you're doing and everything, and somebody, threw your name out there. We're looking for an artist in residence here, and we think you'd fit this bit." And at that time, they were having this show called I think it was called Los Maestros Grandes, and it was like somebody from Oaxaca, Mexico, maybe Guerrero, and they needed one artist in residence there. And I said, "Well, submit your work and we'll see." Okay, so I submitted my work to him, and then a week later they said, "Hey, Diego, we want you to be the artist in residence here, but you have to live in Fresno. You live in San Jose." And I said, "I'll move. I'm a migrant worker. I'll go anywhere I gotta go." And they said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." "When do I need to be there?" They go, "In a month." And I said, "I'll be there." And so then I called my homie, one of my best friends who lived in Fresno, and I go, "Hey, dude, I got this artist in residence at the museum." He's like, "Dude, come live with me. I just got a divorce. Come hang out here." He's like, "I live down the street from the museum." And I was like, "All right, let's go." And so a month later, I'm at the museum, and then I taught at the Fresno Art Museum as a resident artist for 3 years, And
wow.
And so at the museum, I'm exposed now to full-blown art life. I'm helping tour the museum. I'm teaching 3 classes a week. All the Fresno Unified kids from kindergarten all the way to Fresno State kids, and then and towards the end of the residency, I asked the director, "Hey, you mind if I go back to school? I got to finish my degrees. I think I'm going to go to Fresno State." And like, "Oh yeah, go do your thing, and then just work here in the afternoon." So I said, "Cool." So I go to Fresno State, and then I meet another mentor there, and his name was I can't remember his name right now. Anyway, he's the ceramic professor there, right? Mm-hmm. And so him and we start talking right away. And then I meet the other painting guys, and they say, we already know who you are. I don't even know why you're even here. And I said, I got to get a degree. And it's my mom. My mom wants me to get a degree, so I got to finish what I said I was going to keep. I got to keep my word. And so, as I'm almost done with my degree, my mentor, he said, Ed. His name was Ed. He says, Diego, so what are you going to do after you get your degree? And I go, I don't know, I'll just keep painting, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, no, man, I didn't really have any direction, as far as an educator. As a painter, as an artist, I was already living it up. I was doing good. And he says, I think you should go get an MFA, go get a master's in fine art, and you should become a professor and come back here. And he says, you can teach. I already know what you're doing here. Mm-hmm. And once again, no one had ever talked to me about like that. And I said, well, let me look into that. And so I looked at several MFA programs throughout the country, and I ended up going to the University of Texas. And so I got an MFA at the University of Texas. So even when I went to the University of Texas, that was kind of a crazy deal because.
When did you graduate from there?
Excuse me?
When did you graduate from? When did your education wrap?
It was crazy because, like I said, finished Porterville College in '95. Mm-hmm. dipped out to go paint life, whatever, and then came back and graduated from Fresno State in 2008 or something like that, and then finished up grad school 2011. So it's like a late life. I mean, most of the time you get something and go work. I was working, and then I thought I need to go get these degrees later and see what happens.
It's probably going back to school is easier because I was a re-entry student, and it's just like you're just more mature. You already know about being more disciplined, about going to class and getting everything on. Next thing you know, you're sitting in the front of the class.
Yeah. It was different. Like I'm not in the back no more. I'm not in the back. Not in the back.
Wow. Okay. So University of Texas.
Yeah. So at the University of Texas, I get there, and the very first week I'm there, the director of the program calls and he said, "Hey, Diego, we got to talk to you. We're looking at some stuff, and you need to come into the office today." And I was like, "Oh man, I'm already busted again." Like, "Oh man." And so I walk in there and I said, "I go, what's going on?" And it was him and another person. He says, "Well, yeah, we were looking at your records and stuff, and you didn't tell us exactly who you are." And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, "Well, you didn't tell us you're a full established artist in California." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you didn't say that on your application." And I said, "Well, I came as a student. I want to earn my MFA. You know, I'm trying to, I felt like for me, I felt like it was this competition. Like, I don't even know what an MFA is, but I'm going to get one, And even that before I went to Texas that morning, I was having coffee with my mom. And I told Mom, I said, "Hey, we finished up coffee." And I said, "Mom, I got to get on the road. I got to get to Texas, I said, "But when I come back, Mom," I said, "I'm going to be a professor." And she says, "Okay, mijo." He said, "Will you be careful? We'll wait for you when you come back." And that's okay. So when I get over there, and they call me in the office and said, "Hey, you didn't tell us who you were." I said, and he said, "I go, yeah." And they said, "Well, in that case, since you're already an established artist," he goes, "You need to start teaching now." And I said, "What?" And they said, he go, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, but I'm a student." They said, "You're still going to do your student work." I said, "But you need to teach now."
Yeah.
I go, "So we need another professor to teach painting and art appreciation." And I was like, "Do I get paid?" And they go, "Yeah, you get paid." And I was like, "Well, let's do it." And so next thing you know, I'm teaching, art appreciation to 60 students, and I'm teaching painting to the undergrads, and I'm still a student. I'm still a student. And it was like full blown, like it's on. I'm already a professor teaching while I'm still a student at University of Texas.
Wow, that's amazing. See, that's why I'm glad we finally having this conversation, because I feel like you've always just been an artist that's just been busy, but we don't really know. I mean, you're from the Central Valley. However, it's just like all I know is that you're just always busy doing things, and you get a lot of these really great opportunities. And I guess I never thought, like, you don't know what a person's story is until you finally just ask them. Now it all makes sense because I've seen you had all these great opportunities, and like, oh, I just got this, or I just got this, and now I'm teaching at Bakersfield College, and it's just like, unless somebody sits you down to ask you about your personal history and everything like that, you're never going to know. Wow, you have lived quite a life.
Yeah, it's been like I said,
amazing.
Let's get to the point where how I got to Kern.
Yeah, bring it on.
So,
bring it on. Yeah, because that was right here.
Yeah. So
when did you arrive in Kern County?
9 years ago. So was it 2014, something like that? So I come back after Texas. I teach at the university for a little bit, and then I asked to go teach in South Texas. I'm in Brownsville. I'm in McAllen. I'm in Edinburgh. I'm in the Rio Grande Valley. El Valle. And I love that opportunity because I was teaching people who didn't have the same opportunities. And then I came back to California because my grandmother had passed, and then I was like, I need to come back to California. I need to come back and help my gente here too. And so I come back to California, and can't find a job. Kind of looking around. And then I get a phone call from Bakersfield College. Say, "Hey, we found out that you're here. You're back in the Valley. We wonder if you'd like to come in for an interview." And I was like, "Yeah, I'd never been to Bakersfield except for get gas one time. That was it, And because we just kind of zip on through, or we go up north. And so I came.
You spend more time up north than coming down
It's
south.
really bizarre.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre because for some people just go to Fresno, or they just go up north and they just bypass Bakersfield the whole way and go to LA, going down south. And so I came down for this interview. And we had a good chat, and I showed up with my sports coat, and artists, they're dressed in T-shirts and, shorts and, chanclas and whatever. And I was like, this is like a legit interview. I'm trying to get a jale, trying to get a job. Yeah. And then I get there and I go, do you guys mind if I take off my coat and roll up my sleeves? And I go, I feel like I'm in a tuxedo. And they said, go ahead, get comfortable. They would get comfortable. And so I get comfortable, and we just start talking. And after, halfway through the conversation, like, Diego, I think we want to hire you. I think we need you here at Bakersfield College. And I was like, okay, let's do it, you know. And so I went home and told my mom about it. She was all excited, you know. Now you're staying back in California. Now you're not running around anywhere. And then
how was your pops?
Dad was pretty cool about it too. Like
Still,
I said,
like, when are you going to come back to the fields?
because he was still working in the fields. Yeah, my dad worked in the fields like he was 75, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he just
that's what they know.
Yeah,
That's what they know. You know.
So I mean, there was a couple of times that early on that I had to drop out of school twice to come help my dad. You know, and I said, no, I'm the only son. You know, so if he needs me, I'm gonna go.
Good
and
son.
so so and then it was mutual respect at that point. You know, it's like, you know, I could drop my life because you need me, and guess what? I'm always gonna be there when you need me. And so so then I ended up coming to Bakersfield. And Bakersfield that's when it got real crazy busy because I'm in Bakersfield. I'm still painting my life, doing my painting life, teaching at the college. I get a phone call from Fresno State. Hey, we want you to come work over here. And I said, well, I'm already in Bakersfield. And I said, what do you want me to do? I said, well, we'll give you a class, but you got to come over here. So next thing you know, I'm zipping back and forth from Fresno to Bakersfield, right? Boom, 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 boom. And then I get a phone call from National University. Hey, man, can you teach a class for us as well? And where's this class at? In Porterville. And I was like, okay, I'll do that one too. So I mean, I'm literally spreading myself all the way down the San Joaquin Valley. And as tired as I was, I knew I was giving back what I was supposed to be doing. Giving back to my gente from the San Joaquin Valley. My heart's here. My love is here. And I get a lot of love from here. Yeah. You know, and I get invitations all over the place, but my purpose is here. Yeah. You know, and so now that I've decided to make Kern my permanent home, I bought a home now. I live on the east side of Bakersfield. Nice. You know, I want to be where my gente is at. I'm close from the college. Yeah. Things are good. 5 years ago, I get a phone call from the Kern High School District, you know, and they say, you wonder if you'd be interested in teaching high school art. And I said, high school art? Like, I'm not interested in that at all. I go strictly community college and university.
I have my limits.
Well, the limits are the students. You know, there's a certain discipline. There's a certain discipline because, I mean, my discipline is high when it comes to art. I mean, not because I respect it. You know, and I know how we can make things out of it, and it's a platform, it's a voice.
Yeah, you got to earn my class.
That's how I felt.
Put some value on yourself.
That's how I felt. Yeah, because at the end of the day, representation matters. You know, and I'm trying to represent my people, my family, my name, my neighborhood, my town now, and then now my county. You know, because now Kern County is my home. You know, so I'm excited to be part of Kern. You and I became really good friends, and I met a lot of good people in this town, and I'm feeling the love now. You know, I said once I decided to buy my home here, I said this is it. I'm staying right here. I'm going to represent Kern County. You know.
Break time. We'll be back. It's the Bakotunes podcast with Matt Munoz.
If you're injured in an accident, you need a team who knows the law, a team respected by our community and the legal industry, a team with a winning history in Kern County and beyond. Chain Cone Clark, the team you need when it matters most.
That's so cool. All right, so let me ask you. Let's talk about this though, because you know, being an artist, I mean, and then teaching art, it's two different animals. You know, it's two different things. Or maybe to you, it's almost the same thing. You know, but artists are very sensitive about their work and their visions. You know, but then you're also trying to teach, you know, students, you know, maybe the fundamentals. But it seems like you've already kind of moved on past from the By the time the students arrive to you, the fundamentals are already kind of in the past, right?
Right.
And in the direction, I mean, like, if you had the choice, would you rather just be a full-time artist showing your work exhibitions, or would you teach?
I don't think I can do either or anymore. I got to do both at the same time. You know,
Seems that way.
You grow. You know, you grow as a person. Education is very important to me now. Yeah. You know, I tell all my students from the high school to Fresno State kids to BC kids that I'm here to help you be successful, man. You know, somebody did it for me. And I want to teach you guys how to do that. I said, but there's a discipline. I said, my class is real. You know, my class is an experience. You know, I'm not teaching you out of a book. I make it. I'm a real artist. I mean, I do it for a living. Yeah. You know, this is what I do, and I love it with everything that's in my heart.
You know, let's talk about one of my favorite things, which is bringing the Chicano experience to canvas. You're from Porterville. You've shared all this amazing journey, which I love. You know, you've spent a lot of time around Chicanos and Chicano hotspots, obviously. Yeah. It's that's obvious. You know, how do you choose what you're going to work on, and how do you make sure that you're doing it like right, authentically, and like, do you have like a personal test? You know, how do you choose what you're going to work on?
So the work has evolved from the very beginning because, like we talked about, you're learning about European painters and Mexicano painters and everything. And so at the beginning, I didn't want to be like put in a corner like, oh, he's a Mexican painter. He only paints Mexican things. Because a lot of my work was very abstract and very figurative in the very beginning. They didn't know who was making this art. They thought it was some older man or some person from a different country because they'd see my name, but they see the art first. And they're really large paintings, so they could see from a distance. Like, oh, that doesn't look like anything Mexicano that this guy's making. So I did that for a long time, and then when I went to grad school, that's when I started writing and learning more about myself and my roots. And I started writing. I did a body of work called Las Imágenes de mi Infancia, the images of my infancy. And so there's like pictures of like loteria, and somebody one time in a magazine called it Mexican pop art. It was kind of cool. And then in one of
Alarma.
Yeah. Well, it really was because I was collecting all these things for years. I'm a hoarder. I'm an art hoarder. So I hoard things for later. And so then in that body of work, there was a painting that I created, and it was from those little novelitas that my grandma used to read all the time, right? Those little sepia colored magazine. And I looked at it, and I go, man, this is like crazy love story, all kinds of people. And then I thought, I got my own crazy love story. Let me write about this. So then I did a body of whole work called Una novela del amor eterno. And so that's this was a good story because the novela had its offspring, right? And so I created one painting in my grad school work, and then I come back to California, and my mentor, his name was Richard, from Texas, and he says he was from New York, right? And he calls one time and he says, "Hey, you still working on that comic, that novella thing?" And I go, "Yeah." He says, "You know what? There's a school in New York. I think that'd be a good spot for you to go there." I go, "School? I'm already done with school. I got my MFA." I go, Philip was his name. I go, "Philip, I'm already done with that." He says, "No. This is it's more like a residency thing, but I think you'd be good there." I guess I send them my stuff all the time. They don't like my stuff. He said, "But I think they would like your stuff." And I said, "Well, let me look at it." So he sent it to me, and I look into it, and it's called the Art Student League of New York, right? And I was like, and I started looking at people that had gone to the Art Student League and taught there. Jackson Pollock went there. Georgia O'Keeffe went there. Andy Warhol went there, and I was like, "This guy wants me to go. This guy's crazy." Like, but then again, he sees something in me that I didn't see in myself. And I told Philip, I go, "All right, I'm gonna send him my stuff, and then we'll see what happens." He goes, "Do it." I'm telling you, I think it's gonna be a good spot. So I sent him my stuff. 3 weeks later, they said, "Diego, we love your idea about the novela. We want you to come to New York. We want to give you this residency. You'll be here for 7 weeks. We'll give you an apartment. You'll give you a studio. You'll give you a show. You'll be the artist in residency at the Art Student League of New York." And I read it on my laptop, and I read it 3 times, and then I closed it. And I was like, I didn't believe it, and opened it back up. I responded. I said, "You know what? Thank you very much. I accept the invitation. Let me know what we do." And then they gave me the details. I called my dad. "Hey, Dad, guess what? I got this invitation to go to New York. And my dad says, but it's kind of far, no, Mio? Isn't it kind of like far away?" And I go, "Yeah, Dad, it's on the other side of the country." Okay. And then I tell my mom, she's, "Oh, yeah, está lejos, huh? It's pretty far." And then they don't understand that world, And I go, and it's an invitation. I suppose I'm going to do it. And then here's the story gets a little twisted. And so I was dating this poet, this girl, and she was from Nicaragua, real feisty person, right? And I tell her, I said, I go, "Hey, we got to go out tonight. I got to go tell the good news about what's happening with my art thing." And so we go out, and we're at this nice, quiet little restaurant and having a glass of wine. And I said, "Guess what? I've been invited to New York to go paint the novella. I'm going to be there for 7 weeks." And she does this really loud, raspy voice in front of this whole restaurant. She goes, "What?" She goes, "You're not going anywhere." She goes, "You're crazy. You want to go mess around in New York, play with your friends and drink, da-da-da-da-da. Like, you're not going anywhere." And I was like, you don't understand what's happening. This is an opportunity.
You're like, listen, I'm Diego Monterrubio, not Diego Rivera.
Yeah. You got me confused. She goes, "You're not going anywhere." Really loud in the restaurant. And I go, "You got to keep it down. So here's where it gets really, really funny. And so like 3 or 4 days later, I'm at her house, wake up in the morning. She's in the kitchen making coffee. And I walk in the kitchen. I go, "Hey, guess what?" She says, "I had a dream last night that you stabbed me 3 times right here in my ribs. Boom, boom, boom." And she looked at me and she says, "What?" I go, "I had a dream that you stabbed me 3 times. And she looked at me, she goes, "I would never stab you." And then she slams this coffee thing, boom, on the counter. She says, "I'll shoot you first." Yeah. So I was like, "Whoa, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. This girl's going to kill me." And so I'm that. So 3 days later, off to New York. right? So,
Wow. How was that experience?
New York was really, really amazing because
A Chicano in New York.
Yeah. So I get to New York. They have all my materials there ready for me to go. They gave me a studio. They gave me a little studio apartment to sleep in, and I just get to work. I mean, like I said, I'm a migrant worker, so I just start working. Boom, 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 boom. I'm working like 10 hours a day. Napping inside the studio, man. So I felt like I got a job. I got to be somewhere, and so I'm working. And about halfway through the work, the director of the program said, "Hey, Diego, I was in Manhattan last night. I was telling some people about your work, and I was wondering if Can they have these two art critics? They kind of want to come meet you. Is that okay?" And I said, "Bring it, dude. I'm ready." And I got my fist up and I came to throw chingazos here in New York. I'm from the San Joaquin Valley, you know. Yeah. And so we get over there, and sure enough, these guys come in all dressed in black. They're all zipped up, real, kind of pompous kind of guys. And the novela is it's a comic, and all these bubbles and it's all in Spanish, And so I'm translating all the bubbles and everything, right? And then, and as I'm talking to them and explaining the story, my phone starts vibrating, right? It's like I'm getting a text message, and I'm sorry, excuse me, let me turn this off. And then I'm talking, and it does it again, and it does it again. And I look down, and I told them the story about the girl was gonna stab me. Yeah. And then they said, I said, you know what, I got to get this call real quick. And they go, it's her, right? It's her. I go, it's her. I gotta respond to this.
The novella is playing out
in
real time.
In real time.
It must be part of the show.
Yeah. So then I said, you know what, Daryl, go ahead, go take the message. So I go take the message, and then I'm over doing that whole text fight, on my phone, and I come back, and they said, everything okay? And I go, yeah. And they go, what did she say? So they were already hooked up in the novella too, which is good because that means my audience is already getting it, and that's how my artwork is now. So from just painting to getting my audience hooked in my work is where I'm at right now, which is what's happening with this new series with La Fusión de Tres Culturas and the whole Chicano series now.
Yeah. All right, tell us. Share the information
so
about that.
Now, when I created the novella, it created a visual narrative now, right? Because it's a love story, and everybody's had their heart broken, and you get back up and you get going, and that's what I liked about the novella. So that now my current series, it's called La Fusión de Tres Culturas. It's literally like the story of us living in the San Joaquin Valley, because in our beautiful San Joaquin Valley, we have Mexicanos, and there's a fusion of Chicanos, and there's a fusion of Mexican Americans, and we all kind of live in this harmony here, and some of us, when I remember working in the fields, picking fruit. And there'd be this hardcore cholo next to me. And he's my dad's cousin or my dad's neighbor down the street. And then there was another guy over here who was going to college, and he had to come make some money for college money. And so we were all kind of like living the dream, work, or whatever you want to call it, because we're in the fields. And it's not the dream, but we had to do it. And then so these ideas are stuck in my head for now. So now the content of my palette is where we live, And so the fusion is all of us living together, working together. I created some bodies of work now where I have a lowrider, then I'll have somebody working in the fields, and then I'll have a taquero on the painting, and I got a campesina working over here, and there's a convertible '67 Impala in it. And, I like to paint cars. I like cars a lot, and so I got a nice Fleet Line bomb in one of my cars. So yeah, it's and then when I paint that series. Well, mostly probably started with the novella, because the novella, I play these really sad love songs, Spanish love song ballads, boleros and everything, and I purposely go into a realm of being heartbroken when I paint the novella. I cry, I hurt, and I paint, and that was the. And then when I'm done for the day, I turn the music off and boom, I'm back out. I go into this realm. The new series, I got the Barcades playing, I got oldies going on, I throw a couple of, Tigres del Norte going on, So it's the music that I heard working in the fields.
Music is a part of your process.
Yeah, it's part of the process, So I'll get up in the morning, make some coffee, just put some music on, and I gotta wait for that one beat to hit. And once that beat hits, I look at the canvas, and I just put the coffee down, and then boom, it's on, and I'll paint like 6-7 hours straight, You know, that playlist just keeps going on and on and on throughout the day. And some of it I'll sit down because the tempo's a little slower. But the next thing you know, I'm up dancing with my canvas. You know, and all of a sudden the car appears, or a couple of cholas that I painted are up here on the canvas and everything. And it's real life. You know, it's real life because I can already hear the music in the painting. You know, and it's kind of cool like that.
Yeah, I can't. This is amazing. You know, you, like I said, you've always been one of the more kind of really pleasant and cool artists that I've been introduced to. Like we've crossed paths, but there's always been like, you know, you do your thing, you're there, you're kind of like, now you see me, now you don't.
Yeah.
But now I understand you are a very busy guy.
Yeah.
You're a very busy person. You're educating people, you're doing your work, but you've always been very positive. And I can see now. Yeah. You come from very humble beginnings. Yeah. You know, you got your parents. Your parents. Our parents have this in common. I think a lot of Mexican American families, Mexican immigrant families. You know, their parents. They feel. You know, it's almost like all they know in life is to love, support, work, provide. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Dreaming is kind of put on the wayside, but it's what they love. Yeah. These are the things they love. Like they put themselves aside to do what they feel like they were put on this earth to do. Yeah. And it's just like I can see how you're the dream for them, man. Yeah. You're the dream, bro. I mean, it's like, you know, them to be able to see all these things. This is a beautiful thing.
This positive attitude that I have, I get that from my mom. Mm-hmm. My mom is, you know, sugar on the earth. You know, my grandmother's name was Consuelo, and she was the same way. Mm-hmm. You know, my grandfather was super nice as well, but not like their love is different. Yeah, you know, their love, they want you to be successful. I mean, my mom makes sure my shirt's all ironed up before I went somewhere. My pants are ironed up before I went somewhere. Yeah. You know, even now I had lunch with her yesterday, and so we catch up, we talk, we laugh. You know, I call my mom probably 3 times a day. Yeah, you know, she's cool, she's fun. We became really super good friends.
Yeah, well, they became young parents, so I could see they're going to be around. Yeah, So it's great that they're able. It's a blessing that they're able to see all this, because I can see that your story is just, I mean, it's just kind of getting started again.
It's I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm making Kern my home. Yeah, you know, Bakersfield my home now, and I'm gonna love on Kern, and they're gonna love on me, and we're gonna make a lot of stuff. You know, I connected with the Art Council, the Kern Art Council, and met a lot of great people with them so far. Different councilmen here in town have been giving me a lot of love as well. You yourself, I mean, we become really good friends as well. So, and Dolores is a super good friend of mine. Yeah, Dolores is a great friend of mine. You know, that's a crazy story.
We got to be able to see if we could have you do something with the Chavez Foundation.
Yep, I would love to.
I would love to.
So
I will.
So watch this. Here's a good story about the Chavez Foundation. So when I moved to Bakersfield, I don't know anybody at all, not a single person, right? And I'm already working, but they're my students, but I don't have any friends here yet. And I was like, man, I got to go meet some people. I got to go do something. I was like, I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to volunteer for the Dolores Huerta Foundation. That's how I'm going to meet some people. And so they were having this event called Salsa and Salsa. You know, it was like I said, 9 years ago at the Padre. And so I'm going to go over there. I'm going to go meet some people over there. So I get over there. And of course, I hadn't met her briefly at Fresno State one time at a movie. You know, she showed up for a movie, and for some odd reason, she ended up sitting right next to me. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you've never met her, man, you're like, oh man, this is national treasure right here. You know, and you're like, oh my god. And so I was kind of nervous, you know. And then we talked for a little bit. We took a picture out in the lobby. So backtrack, you know, 10 years later. You know, I walk into the Padre and I see like, oh man, there she is, there's La Señora. I'm like, oh man, so how neat, you know, because she's fun, right? Yeah. And so I get over there and I'll go introduce myself a little bit. And so I go get myself a cocktail, and I turn around and she's standing right there, and she says, she goes, how are you? And I said, I'm good. I go, how are you? And then she says, do I know you? And I said, no, well, not really, but we kind of met one time. She goes, you're the painter. I go, I am the painter. She goes, I remember talking to you. I go, that was a long time ago. You know, she meets hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah. You know, and she goes, I am the painter. She goes, yeah, you're the painter. We talked about painting with your artwork one time. And I go, yeah. And so from that moment on, it's like we connected. You know, she goes, give me your number. You know, I'll call you when we go somewhere. And I was like, you want my number? I was like, here's my social security number, my house number, my phone number. You can have everything. Yeah. And after that, we became really good friends as well. And the next thing you know, she's texting me, "Hey, Diego, we're going to have this event. Would you like to come over hang out? Hey, we're going to go dancing. You want to come? I'm on my way."
Always such a great supporter
Always,
of the
man.
arts. Anywhere. You can always count on Dolores. All you need to do is just ask her.
That's right.
And she will be there.
Yeah.
And, you got to hear her history. Like, she spent a lot of time in New York, the early Fania years. So she saw everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's a big jazz music fan.
Oh, yeah.
And so art, it goes hand in hand. She's always been at lots of our shows. I mean, she's a staple. She is definitely a national treasure. We're
Absolutely.
very blessed to still have her here.
Yeah.
But let's say, hey, where can people find out more about your work? Because, I mean, people have a lot to learn about Diego Monterrubio.
So it's been really pre-COVID. Like I said, COVID kind of closing things down. But right before COVID, or right when COVID just started, I got approached by PBS. And so public broadcasting system, they sent out a young guy who was doing some documentaries. He wanted to do a documentary on me. They were gonna play it nationally. And so he came over. We did some filming in my studio. We did a whole conversation. And so that was kind of the big thing that kind of blew up really fast. And then so people can find that on YouTube. I'll try to find you a link for that. That's kind of cool. I just shared that. That one we can share like all over the country, which is pretty neat. And then I got a Facebook, I got an Instagram, all that kind of stuff.
You have a personal website, though.
I do have a personal website. It's diegomonterrubio.weebly.com.
If you go to the podcast episode information box, I will make sure to hyperlink all his links.
Yeah.
So I'll find the PBS documentary, and I will also I'll just put a series of of links in there. Click them all.
Yeah.
Get to know Diego.
Yeah.
This is a great story.
Yeah. No, I'm like I said, I'm Kearns is going to be my home now, and this is where I'm going to be, and I plan on working a lot with the Art Council, the museum, you yourself, and Dolores and her foundation. I'll spread myself everywhere I possibly can. If you need something painted, I'll come over to do some painting. I'll paint your bedroom. Let's hang out.
Well, I mean, see, everybody out there, I know that a lot of law offices in town, they are big supporters of local art. You need to have a Monterrubio.
They should. I agree. I agree.
You need to have a Monterrubio on your wall and have some commissions. I mean, just like what he said right now. I mean, he's a super busy guy, and he's been in the community for a while now. But unless you stop and ask, and that's why I'm glad. I think it was because I saw that you were. What was it that made me think why don't I have?
I was highlighted in a magazine the day out of Los Angeles.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was for Canvas Rebel,
Rebel.
which I had a profile on there done.
Oh, there you go.
Done there too. And you know what? I think of who recommended me was Marisa Oropesa.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think between the both of us, we may have, because what they do is they say, do you recommend anybody?
Oh, yeah.
And I think every single time you had been on on the list of the recommendations. So, but that's the way it happens.
Oh, yeah.
And if they're going to follow up, you just don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, wow, to hear your story, you obviously have a very amazing story to be able to share with everyone. It's very inspiring. It's an immigrant story. It's an American story. It's a Mexican story. It's just it's an artist story of any nationality and around the world. It's following those dreams and having just being in the right place at the right time. Always going for those opportunities. Because if you don't say yes, you'll never know. And you don't want to beat yourself up for it. So, had you not gone to New York, had you bowed down to the violence?
Had I not gone to the Bay Area,
exactly.
Had I not gone to New York,
little bit.
Texas, all of it.
Bakersfield.
I did a show in Vietnam one time. I got invited to go to Vietnam. I got an invitation for a residency in Argentina, Buenos Aires. I got an upcoming one to Uruguay. That's going to probably happen next year. And so, people invite me, and I was like, I'll go. I'll bring a sleeping bag. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. We got to get you. Have you ever shown in the Bakersfield Museum of Art?
I had a painting just recently there with a group called the Saturation, small, like 10-inch, 12-inch paintings. But I'm going to work with them because we're going to get some down. We're going to get something down.
They're going to do a very big, like a Mexican American Chicano exhibition next year.
Well, this is the stuff that's in my house right now. That's the one.
All right, you hear that?
That's the one. So, I had somebody actually send me a message of the day. Somebody who knows somebody I don't know if you know the Gronk, the artist over in Los
Yeah,
Angeles.
oh, yeah,
So
with Asko.
Yeah. So Gronk and I are really good friends, right? And so we're good friends. So he was talking to me. He's like, I got to talk to Cheech because we need to probably see if we can get one of your paintings over there at the Cheech in Riverside. And I was like, that's right, let's do that, man. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Like I said, I mean, the work's strong. I mean, it's got so much, Chicanismo in it, Mexicanismo, salsa, tacos. It's all inside of it, all kinds of cars in it. It's fun. It's a car show. It's neat.
Yeah.
But I paint really large scale. I mean, 4x4, 5x5, 8x8.
Yeah. What's the largest piece you've ever done?
20 feet. 20 feet. Really? Yeah. I was just the other night because I mean these ideas pop in my head all the time. I was like, man, I need to do a bigger one. And so I mean, I got these, the panels are like 4 feet by 8 feet. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, if I just throw them all the way across, I'll make actually I do some big murals with my students in Shafter. And so we get about 4 panels. That's like a 12 by 16, and I expose my kids in Shafter to something they've never seen.
Yeah. Do you have any public art here?
I do not, but I'm going to work with the Art Council because they're working on a mural program and there's I think some of them are going to be on the underpasses and everything.
Yeah, you need to get some new artists in there.
Yeah,
some more. There's a lot of the same artists, which they're all very talented.
Yeah.
But hey, mix it up. Hey, like he said, he's a homeowner. He's teaching right here. He's obviously invested himself in this community. Like this is his home, and this is where he's going to be. So you're obviously going to be seeing a lot more of Diego Monterrubio. Wow, I mean, we could keep on talking forever, but I know you got paintings, you got students to teach. So we're going to put all our links in the episode information box on how you can find Diego Monterrubio. But like you said, just look up Diego Monterrubio art. It's it's almost like you'd say it might be a common name when you start looking up. You might, but you'll know who I'm talking about. Handsome guy, he's got the mustache, he's smiling. You'll know when you look at him, it's like, oh, this is the artist. He's an artist. Look at the way he's living his life. He's got no shirt on, he's chilling on the beach, he's got his cocktail. I mean, he's living it the way he should be, living his life. Thank you so much for being on the Bakotunes podcast. Can I get a si se puede, baby?
Si se puede, baby.
Thank you so much, Diego.
Thank you.
The Bakotunes podcast with Matt Munoz. New episodes every week. And for the latest, be sure to follow us at Bakotunes on Instagram and Twitter. That's BAKOTUNES. And be sure to like us, rate us, comment at us, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back next time.